Today we have Channing Harris from Etheridge Counseling Group here to talk about the holidays, preparing for the holidays, specifically family triggers, which is something that I know I'm not alone in when it comes to holidays and family gatherings. Triggers left and right sometimes. So Channing, thanks so much for being here and talking to us today about family triggers and the holidays.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So when you think about the holidays coming up, and I know you're working with couples, working with clients, what are some of those things that you kind of hope to prepare them for moving into the holidays?
Yeah, there can be a lot of landmines heading into the holidays. We can have a lot, of things that sometimes we can see them, other times we step on them and they blow up and we're like, "Oh, wasn't expecting that." And some of the common ones I would say would be past conflicts, whether they've some of the obvious ones would be unresolved past conflicts. We
Mm-hmm.
probably see those kind of in the forefront, kind of feel that tension going into the holiday gathering. Um, but sometimes it can be past conflicts that we've hoped or thought were resolved. And when we're interacting with family members, they kind of re-spark, and that can be a surprise sometimes, and it can be really disappointing. And then, I would say at the same time, difficult personalities. When we have family gatherings, sometimes it's the only time we're all together, and we all have difficult family members. We all have the family members that are super awesome to be around. We feel super welcome. And then we all have those family members, even if it's just one, that it's kind of hard to be around and we maybe don't get along with as easily. And so,
Mm-hmm.
those are all really common things. And then another one I would say is even just differing expectations. We
Mm-hmm.
all have
Mm-hmm.
what we're hoping our holiday get together is going to look like, or the day of the holiday, or even just like family outings. So what those are going to look like. And so sometimes that can be pretty triggering when
Yeah,
they're different. That can be really
absolutely.
upsetting.
Yeah, that's so interesting. So those three big ones, past conflicts that maybe are unresolved or have just kind of like come back up that you weren't expecting. Difficult personalities. Yes, everybody has at least one of those.
Mhm.
And then yeah, the expectations. Maybe somebody's coming into the holidays really wanting it to be like no responsibilities, no plans, and someone else is like, finally, let's go do all the things. Or yeah, so those differing expectations. So what are the strategies to get through the landmines? Help us. What do we do?
Yeah, I talked a little bit about this in my first part of like what can we do that's proactive. And so,
Mhm.
since I've already talked about those, I'll talk more about what do we do when we've stepped on something that's unexpected and now we are feeling dysregulated. We are feeling very upset. What do we do then? And
Mm,
so, one of the number one things I suggest is grounding techniques. There's a
mm,
bunch of
mm,
different ones, but grounding techniques essentially help you kind of ground back into yourself, into your body, into the space that you're in. And instead of feeling like we're spiraling and we're getting up here and we're about to kind of lose our minds, lose it on another family member, lose it on, our kids or our partner. How do we help calm ourselves back down to a
mm,
manageable level?
mm,
And
mm,
so, I again talk about a few of these in the article, but I would say, one of my favorite ones is utilizing color, for example.
mm.
So I'll
How do you give
suggest,
an example of that? How do you use color?
yeah, I love this one. I just think it's fun. Pick a color, any color that pops into your head, and wherever you are, because you can do this in a crowded room and no one would
Mm,
know what you're doing, but internally you're helping support yourself. And
mm,
so, pick a color. Let's say the color that I picked was brown because there's brown around me. And so I'm going to pick 5 things that I see around me that are brown. So
mm,
I see this bookshelf behind me is brown. This chair that I'm sitting on is brown, and so on and so forth. And then what I'm going to do is, if I have the opportunity, I will actually go and I'll touch the object, and then I'll
mm,
describe what the sensation feels like to myself. If that's not an option, or we don't feel comfortable doing that in a crowded room, that's fine. Most of us can imagine what a chair would feel like, or what a bookshelf might feel like. And so I'm going to
mhm,
describe that and really try to think about what would that feel like? How would that feel beneath my skin? Would it be rough, smooth, cold, warm? And really go into depth, get creative. That's a fun opportunity to be creative with that.
mm,
And after going through all five, you might find that I'm not feeling so panicky anymore. I'm not feeling so explosive. I actually am okay. I'm back into my space. I'm very grounded where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're able to then take care of ourselves and respond to what's coming up for us in a healthy and productive way, which might be this idea of I'm at my end. I need to step away and take some breaths, or I need to do some self-care, or even just I might need to go home early, and that's okay.
So really, getting back into your body, getting regrounded or sort of reconnected with yourself. And so, there's so much happening neurologically there too. You're moving from like a flooded state where your prefrontal cortex is possibly about to go offline, and kind of calming yourself, self-soothing back to a place where your brain can fully function. You've got, you can think creatively about what you need to do for yourself, reconnected with your body sensations. That's such a good, easy one. And that's an easy one to do in public, because nobody really knows what you're doing.
Yeah, super easy. No one would even know. And again, like if you're in a space where you can touch stuff, that's awesome, but you don't even have to. That's where you get to use your imagination, even just kind of connecting with all of your senses, even this idea of like, what would it smell like?
Yes, what would that bookcase smell like?
Yeah. And sometimes that sounds kind of funny, and it can almost be humorous. Like we can have fun with it. And instead of feeling like we're about to maybe have a panic attack or be super explosive, then we're kind of chuckling to ourselves. We're finding some laughter and even little moments of joy just on our own. That's a very big shift.
I mean, I think even just that one, if we all took that one, that could be really helpful for us. But I know you have even more. What's another one that we could use? What's another strategy?
So another one, it's pretty similar. It's the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That one's really helping you make sure we're hitting all the senses. So starting with, what are 5 things that you can see? So listing, I can see books, I can see a bookshelf, a chair, so on and so forth. And then what are 4 things that you can touch? And it also similarly looks a little different. I don't have to get up and touch stuff. I'm sitting on a chair. I'm touching the chair. I'm touching my shirt, it's touching my arm, and I can go through things like that. My jewelry is touching me, and I can identify that. And so typically we can, without even moving in a crowded room, can pick out 4 things that we can touch. And then, 3 things that we can hear, really slowing down and picking out what are 3 things that I can hear just in this moment. And sometimes that may just even be my own breathing, my own heartbeat, even like the sound of a car or the sound of bugs outside. Like there's lots of things that we just aren't always attuned to, especially when we're really getting dysregulated. And then 2 things that you can smell. And then the final one is taste, because generally that one's the hardest. So saving that one for last, but
take a little sip of something cozy.
Yeah, exactly. And so, even in a crowded room, we can do that. And that's engaging all 5 of our senses, which again, really helps keep us or reground us, bring us back into.
Another one you mentioned in the second blog post of this 4-part series is setting an intention and taking breaks. And those 2 I particularly like. Just for my own personality, I could see that being a very helpful thing for me. So maybe like my intention is, I don't know, maybe you have some examples, but maybe my intention is to, I don't know, for me, water is a helpful thing because I don't know, I feel like taking a sip of water sort of helps me regulate. I don't know. It connects me to my body, but it also feels like, okay, it's self-care. And it's also a moment where I can kind of disconnect from everything that's happening and just focus on myself. I don't know. So maybe my intention is I'm going to take water breaks throughout this evening, or maybe my intention is to not overshare, or I don't know, whatever that intention might be, and then to take breaks. I think those, you've got a lot of really helpful ideas. These are really practical articles that you've written. I think can be really helpful for people. Any other ones that you want to tell us about?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I talked a little bit about grounding techniques. You talked about some just kind of additional tips. I think another really important one is mindfulness practices. So specifically, I think mindfulness meditations can be really helpful when, again, we're bumping up on a trigger that we maybe weren't expecting. And, an easy one to do, again, we can do this in a crowded room. We can do this at home. If you are in a comfortable space where you feel like you can close your eyes, that can be helpful just to keep down the distractions. But body scans, so finding a comfortable position, whether that's even just standing in the middle of the room, just being in a comfortable stance, and then just starting from your toes up into your head, focus on any sensations that you feel. Notice anything that's coming up for you. If we know any areas of tension, can we take some deep breaths and try to release a little bit of that tension? And then, this is really an important piece as well, is can we observe without judgment? We're simply just acknowledging what we feel.
Not
And
taking
then,
it as an opportunity to shame yourself for something or judge yourself for something, but just let it exist there.
yeah, exactly. And so just acknowledging, not judging, just acknowledging that my body's great. My emotions are great. They help me. They serve me. I wrote a great blog post about that last time, like this last post. And so, all of this is well intended. My body's trying to help me. Can I just acknowledge what it's doing for me? And then just take a few deep breaths.
It is sort of amazing how disconnected we can be from our bodies. I mean, sometimes I will do a body scan and I will have trouble noticing what sensations I even feel. And this is these are our bodies that we live in every day in, day out. It's amazing how disconnected we can be from what's going on physically. So I love that idea of just stopping, noticing, and then moving forward from there with whatever we need. Well, my goodness, thank you so much for talking about family triggers with us, because I think that's something that everybody's going to be able to benefit from for the next few months. And yeah, thanks again. If anybody is interested in doing a free consultation or scheduling, working with Channing here in Charleston, South Carolina, just visit us at LandryEtheridge.com and you can schedule a consultation and perhaps work with Channing. You do couples and individuals, working with couples and individuals. So great. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.